but he has been quite critical in public of Nigel Farage. He did an interview with the Daily Mail where he called Nigel Farage messianic and cast doubt on whether he would make a good Prime Minister. Nigel Farage hit back and said that he thought it was good that he had a following and suggested that Rupert Lowe wanted himself to be Prime Minister. Could this all date back to January, when the richest man in the world, Donald Trump's right-hand man, Elon Musk, got involved in reform politics and said that he didn't think Nigel Farage was up to the job of being leader, but even though he had never met Rupert Lowe, he did suggest that, having seen some statements that he had put out publicly, he would be a better leader of reform. It was quite extraordinary when it happened.
Hello, you magnificent lot, and welcome back to the channel where we dissect politics with a generous helping of British humour. Today, we're diving into the rather messy, yet oddly fascinating row within Reform UK, a row that's leaving many of us patriots scratching our heads and wondering if our political party of hope has turned into a circus of clowns. And, oh, the irony is thicker than a proper Yorkshire pudding.
It begins by saying that the party's received complaints from 2 female employees about serious bullying in the offices of the Member of Parliament for Great Yarmouth, Rupert Lowe. It goes on to say, evidence was provided to us of workplace bullying, the targeting of female staff who raised concerns, and evidence of derogatory and discriminatory remarks made about women, including reference to a perceived disability.
The controversy erupted when a faction of senior members within Reform UK began voicing serious concerns over Nigel Farage's leadership style. They claim that his approach has become increasingly autocratic and overly reliant on his personal brand, rather than encouraging collective decision-making. Imagine, if you will, a political leader who's less about building bridges and more about juggling flaming torches. Exciting to watch, but terribly dangerous if you're standing too close.
Lee Anderson, you absolute C-word, and Nigel Farage. And as for you, Zia Yusuf, frankly, and I've wanted to say this since the start, you can F right off. Because as far as I'm concerned, you're the problem. You've been the problem for a long time. And the thing I haven't been able to say, because I've been politely holding the line because it's the right thing to do, is that since you came along, things have changed. Nigel has withdrawn. Nigel has pulled back. Statements about immigration not there anymore. The fight being taken away. Suddenly we're compromising. Suddenly it's very important that we recognise the importance of the Muslim vote. Suddenly pulling back from the principles on which people need to join this fight. And we've watched it happen. We've held our tongues because we knew that the important thing was to hold the line. And look what you've done. You have just crapped all over decent, ordinary people who gave you them.
It appears that what was once seen as a bastion of hope for solving some of our country's problems is now starting to crack under the strain of internal dissent. And for us patriots who believed Reform UK was as strong as they come, well, it's a bitter pill to swallow indeed.
But we've probably got the worst government we've ever had, the worst group of people in Parliament we've ever had, and certainly the most malign and ineffective civil service that we've ever had. And this is really the key to the whole thing. Government is there to serve the people. It's not there to dictate to the people, and that's what's happened.
Dissenters have been quite vocal, critiquing Farage for what they see as a complete lack of consultative leadership. They argue that if Reform UK is to remain relevant in this ever-shifting political landscape, a more democratic approach is desperately needed. And here's where it gets particularly juicy. In the midst of all this, allegations have emerged that Rupert Lowe may have even resorted to verbal threats against certain individuals. Yes, you heard that right. Verbal threats. Lowe claims that these allegations stem directly from his spat with Farage, as if the very air in Reform UK suddenly got so charged it could set off fireworks. It's particularly tragic, nay, downright sad, that this is happening now, at a time when so many of us believed Reform UK was the political ship that could steer us clear of the turbulent waters of conventional politics.
He said he must want to become Prime Minister, we all do, and you know as well as I do, having worked for so many years at Westminster, I mean, it's pretty hard to find an MP that doesn't think literally think that they could be Prime Minister, that they have what it takes. And evidently Rupert Lowe falls into that category.
We thought they were the answer, the remedy for decades of establishment failings. Instead, we're witnessing internal divisions that are exposing cracks in the very foundation of what many had hoped would be a unifying force. But before you start sobbing into your cuppa, there's a silver lining, or at least that's what we're all clinging to. Despite the current turmoil, there's a growing sentiment that this blow to Reform UK might ultimately be a blessing in disguise. Yes, it's hard to swallow that our beacon of reform might be faltering, but history teaches us that sometimes a little shake-up can pave the way for something even stronger.
I'm sure this is causing much merriment on the left. You know, they'd like nothing better than a little fantasy of Nigel Farage not being the leader of Reform Party. It isn't going to happen. So we can all have a lot of fun talking about Rupert Lowe and his ambitions, but he's not going to replace Nigel Farage.
On one side, there remains a loyal faction that sticks by Farage, enamoured by his populist appeal and his uncanny ability to command media attention. On the other, a growing number of members believe that a more consultative, democratic approach is needed to restore unity and direction. This split is symptomatic of deeper ideological differences within the party, a reminder that when personalities clash, the political fallout can be as unpredictable as a weather forecast in Britain.
But someone cynical might say, gosh, nothing happened to this guy until he publicly made a fuss and made disparaging remarks about Nigel Farage. And then within 24 hours, he was toast.
But actually,
this is political.
And I'm happy to clarify that. As I say, there was an additional threat that was made about the chairman, Zia Youssef. And you get to a point where you can't tolerate this anymore. And it's really unfortunate, but ultimately, Rupert had been doing some great work on a variety of important issues. But ultimately, if you can't work with someone, if the situation becomes impossible, which regrettably, in our honest opinion, is where it had got to, then you have to say, this is not going to end well.
It's worth noting that while we patriots grieve this internal division, some of our political adversaries might be having a field day. Yes, it wouldn't be shocking if Keir Starmer and the Labour lot are secretly overjoyed by the spectacle. Reform UK, despite its current missteps, still holds promise as a platform for meaningful change. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think the current internal row is a fatal blow to Reform UK, or could this chaos pave the way for a stronger, more united party? Drop your opinions in the comments below. After all, in these turbulent times, every voice matters.
But friends, be in no doubt that our country is in the most precarious position I can remember. And what is the root cause? Uncontrolled mass immigration. Immigration, immigration, immigration. Legal and illegal. If raising legitimate concerns about thousands and thousands of unchecked foreign males illegally entering our country makes me far right, then so be it.
Thank you for joining me on this rollercoaster ride through the current drama in Reform UK. Do give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and ring that bell for more no-holds-barred political commentary. Until next time, keep your tea piping hot and your hopes alive. Remember, in the grand circus of British politics, sometimes the clowns fight between themselves. It's part of the show. See you in the next video.
I want the British government to put the British people at the top of the agenda. Yeah. We should make no apologies for that. Learn from Trump. Let's be unapologetically patriotic. Slash tax across the board. Enforce the border. Deport those with no right to be here. Accept biological reality. Fight back against wokery. Bulldoze nonsensical foreign aid. Eradicate DEI. Deliver sensible infrastructure. Carpet bomb public sector waste. Brutally crack down on crime. And plenty more.
Have you noticed that Rupert Lowe speaks without reading from a script, unlike our Prime Minister Keir?